on Twitch. We should be ready to go on YouTube here in just a little bit. Want to make certain everything's working before we get too far down the line. If you are just joining us, this is Weather Overtime from downtown Chattanooga at the News 12 studios. It is peak of the week Wednesday. Let me just see. Okay, audio is good there. Let's take a look at Twitch and see if everything is going on nicely here. First day of school for a lot of locations today. Okay, sounds pretty good on Twitch, so we are good to go. This is Wednesday night. It is a quiet one. We did have some showers. We don't have too many of them left over at this point. We may see some more activity in the next day or two, but just not picking up a lot of that going on for right now. If you got questions about what's going on with the forecast, drop them into the comments section on YouTube or stream chat on Twitch, and we'd be glad to do what we can about answering your questions. We are going to be seeing some hotter conditions on the other side of this next weekend. We do still see a bit of a downturn in temperatures. Great news on that. But for right now, we do still have some hotter weather to deal with. So again, welcome to the show. This is our exclusive video weather blog. Let's take a look and see what's going on out there. 95 the high, 73 the low temperature, 91 and 71 are our normal highs and lows. A record high that hasn't been broken since 1935. That's been a healthy chunk of time ago. And 1957, a low of 57, a record low of 57. Goose eggs in the rain gauge for tonight. We're behind about an inch for the month. We managed to pick up 0.08 of an inch officially for Chattanooga. And every single day we don't get rainfall, we lose about another 12 hundredths of an inch. So we are now behind by just about 5.5 inches. If the present trend continues to where we won't see any rain as we go into the weekend, it's a good possibility by next week we may be looking at close to half a foot behind on rainfall for the year. We'll keep you updated on that and let you know a little more. If you're heading to get the kids to school in the morning, as I will be, we're looking at, again, mostly sunny, hot, and humid during the afternoon, right after dismissal time. Outdoor exercise areas, anything in the way of football, soccer, marching band practice, whatever, it's going to be very steamy once again. So heat indexes will be near the triple digits, and that's dangerous if you're working or exercising for too long across much of the area. So please consider that. And also, again, seeing the potential of maybe a random raindrop or two, but that's going to be about all. Chattanooga Zoo camera from the area around Holtzclaw Avenue, looking back to the northwest a little bit on the hazy side. The crescent moon is out here somewhere, but as of right now, it's kind of hard to see with the clouds and the haze out there. Hopefully be popping into view here pretty soon. Likewise, kind of hazy looking over the north slope of Lookout Mountain, just south of downtown near the St. Elmo area in Chattanooga, and also seeing that fairly dry, hazy conditions for now. Traffic around 2475 was pretty heavy earlier. Right now, there's not a lot going on. We have little, if anything, going on in the way of very heavy problems with haze, but if you take a look out towards Signal Mountain, you can barely see anything in the way of those antenna lights way up top, so it's kind of hard to see just about anything there. Traffic 2475 on the Tomahawk crane and rigging camera moving along. A few folks out and about earlier on the footbridge across the Tennessee River, and then also a few folks out around Coolidge Park earlier on. Not seeing a lot of folks on the Speedy's Total Car Care camera. And what else haven't we done here? Lee Point, looking back towards sunset on the Plainview Outdoor Advertising camera. There's our crescent moon. Just enough clouds breaking up from this angle, looking back that way, to be able to see a little bit more in the way of some of that crescent moon sinking on down. Hopefully we'll get a good time lapse out of this. We'll see what goes on there. Temperatures down toward the airport, which you can see right down here on the horizon, the Chattanooga Airport, which is where this reading comes from. Temperatures back in the high 80s, and with a huge amount of humidity out there, it still feels like it's in the 90s at nearly 10 o'clock at night. So not feeling anything in the way of cool conditions. But if everything works in the next several days and all the combinations have to come together, we might actually see some help on what's going on with our temperatures. Very much on the warm side right now, no question about that. Not seeing any 90s as of 10 o'clock almost Eastern time, but we are pretty close to that in some areas. We have a decent amount of wildfire smoke sitting around the area, and that's going to continue for the foreseeable future. I wish we could get some clearer skies in here, and that may happen depending on what goes on. What we're looking at, we again have what's left of Debbie down toward the Gulf Coast area where it looks like it may have already made landfall. Let me take a look and see what the headlines are from the National Hurricane Center. Center of Debbie remains just offshore, right off the coast of South Carolina. Major flood threat continues for the Carolinas with all this rain going on. We'll get back to the tropics coming up here in just a little bit, so stay tuned for that. Now, we did have just a little bit of a front left over. You can see some of that sitting across Virginia and the Delmarva Peninsula area. That's falling apart. There's really not that much left of that particular system. So it might help Debbie to kind of shepherd its way up the East Coast. Our next storm system, looking all the way back out toward the Great Plains and the Front Range of the Rockies, this one, as it moves in, will be giving us the better potential of a little bit cooler conditions all the way up into portions of Canada and areas around, again, the high plains. This will be moving our direction. Hopefully that'll be enough to sweep some of this smoke out of here, but the practical upshot for us is going to be the potential of getting rid of a lot of this smoke, which has been sticking around this area of the country for a while. Notice in the Tennessee River Valley, in this loop, the smoke does tend to stick around, so we may see the potential of hazy skies right through Thursday and possibly into Friday, and there are tons of uncontrolled wildfires well back off to the west of us into the western third of the United States and western parts of Canada. So we may see the potential of a lot more smoke coming our way until either we get a good soaking out this direction. Hopefully the weather turns in our favor so that we don't see as many wildfires, or the fire crews out there get these fires under control. But remember again that there are thousands of acres on fire, and this is not good news for what we have been seeing over the last several days and weeks as we look for that smoke to be very thick across the American Northwest. Portions of Nevada, California, Idaho, Oregon, and Washington State, not to mention Utah and back into Wyoming, seeing a lot of problems here. But these fires all the way out here is where a lot of this smoke has come from. Now, some of this is due to localized fires. You can see occasionally some gray areas popping up. Those are plumes of smoke, according to what we are seeing on the view from these computers that keep track of this information from satellite. So yes, there is some localized smoke, but there's not a lot. So we're not seeing a great deal of clearer skies thanks to some of that being localized smoke, but some of that is coming in from the west. A lot of that is coming in from the west, and that is going to continue to give us problems with haze, and we're not going to be seeing too much relief out of that anytime soon. We'll get back to the tropics here in just a little bit. Let's take a look at our 7-day forecast and show you that we do have, again, the potential for some hot conditions tomorrow. We're going to throw that isolated chance of a shower or thunderstorm into the forecast for tomorrow. Not much of anything else going on throughout the course of the next several days. So we do see, again, the possibility of numbers dropping with that next storm system. That's good news. Again, normal for this time of the year is about 91 degrees. So just below that for Saturday and Sunday. Yes, it is going to be very warm to very hot into the next several days, but at least we catch a little bit of a break out there, and that will help us out at least a little bit. Now, next week, we may see the potential of some more thunderstorms. The temperatures head back up again, back in the lower to mid 90s. So we don't see a huge amount of rainfall, but it is possible that toward the middle part of next week, we may pick up more rainfall. Chances are not great, but we'll take what we can get. We need the rainfall. There's no question about that. And as for right now, this brief respite in the temperatures will be very nice to have. Even temperatures back in the mid-60s, that is chilly for this time of the year. So not too bad for now. We probably will see less in the way of relief going into August, according to the current readings from the Climate Prediction Center. We would like to be able to see a lot more out there. For the next 6 to 10 days, this is where we see here are cooler temperatures over portions of the southeast United States, thanks to Debbie bringing in some of that air. But in the next few days, as Debbie makes its way up the coast, cloudy skies with rainfall here, blocking out the sunshine. It will be below normal temperatures here, but as we go into the midpoint of the month, more hot air coming our direction from the south, and that's where temperatures on the 7-day just a few seconds ago were going to be heading back upwards again. Likewise, the Climate Prediction Center is showing for the next 30 days, for the rest of August basically, the eastern portion of the United States from New England down to Florida, the Keys, and our area here will be looking at above normal temperatures, or at least a very good chance of that. So not seeing any long-term good news where the temperatures are concerned. I really got to get the autumn countdown clock going at some point that'll help us out on there. Now, if you were watching yesterday, apologies for the postal code error right there. It should have been AK, not AL. But the temperature that we read, this from Brian Brettschneider at Climatologist 49 on Twitter. He was posting about this earlier in the afternoon. Dead Horse, Alaska, up toward the coast and beyond the Arctic Circle, had a high temperature at the time of 86. No station in Alaska that far north had ever been warmer. Well, that wasn't the end of it. The earlier temperature was 86, yes, but it soon rose even higher to come just close to 90 degrees above the Arctic Circle on the Arctic Ocean. This big wave of heat sitting over northwest Canada and parts of Alaska. This is incredibly bad news where climate change is concerned. And this is just one effect out there. Not only did we have this going on, but later on that last night into this morning, 71 at Delta Junction, Alaska, the warmest low temperature in Alaska in the last 5 decades. This is incredibly scary, the way that the temperature is changing around the planet. This is why we need to reduce fossil fuels. This is why we need to reduce waste. This is why we need to elect leaders who are available to learn and make certain they can present and craft legislation based on what the science of climate is doing to tell us that this is not normal. This is absolutely ridiculously stupid, dangerously high temperatures. This is absolutely something to be concerned with, and hopefully you are as much as I am, because this right here is not anything that we want to be seeing. We're getting hotter and hotter all around the world. And you're saying, okay, well, that's not enough. Try to convince me otherwise. Okay, let's go down to Florida, where last night at St. Petersburg and Venice, the highest minimum temperature on record. This was as cool as it got in this particular area. On record, that was, again, that blows away all the other low temperatures. Again, this is Florida. We're surrounded by tropical water, so yes, it is going to be hot and humid, but it has never been this not cool at this time of the year. There's tons of other things that I could talk about. We don't have the time for right now, but there's tons more that you can take a look at out there. I would suggest that if you don't understand about climate change and would like to know more, look it up, find more information. If you would like to know more, email me. Email address is at the bottom of the screen. Would love to help give you more information. If you want to pick a fight over this and say, I'm lying, it's fake science, save yourself the energy. Don't email me. I'm not going to debate with somebody who has already made up their mind. It's not something that I want to waste my time on. If you are sincere about learning, yeah, contact me and let's have a conversation about what is going on out there. And maybe all of us working together can help to fix the problem and help our planet. This is really something that we have to pay attention to. Now, this is also something to take a look at because these temperatures can keep getting worse. These are not air temperatures. These are what are called sea surface temperatures. These are the temperatures of the waters in the first few feet of the ocean surface. And the ocean is doing a very good job of absorbing the heat from the atmosphere, which is getting heated up by the greenhouse effect, which is being made worse by us driving gasoline-powered cars, using fossil fuels to power society. It keeps getting worse. And this is really incredible here. The darker areas that you see around the western and northern Gulf, where they're in the high 80s. Anything above 80 degrees is perfect to send up more water vapor, so any storms that move across this area can develop even more quickly. That is rocket fuel for these storms. Now, a few days ago, right before we had Debbie making landfall in the Big Bend area, a water surface probe, a buoy, run by the Scripps Oceanography Institute, marked a temperature off the mouth of the Mississippi of 95 degrees. And there have been temperature reports along the west coast of Florida and all the way back into the western Gulf of temperatures nearing 90 degrees. Also, when Beryl moved through on her path, it usually, when a strong storm like a Category 3 or higher, a major hurricane rolls through, it can stir up the water's surface and bring colder water upwelling to the surface, and it will leave a trail of colder water. There was no such upwelling happening this time around. You might say, okay, so big deal. What does that have to matter about anything? It means that the water, even though it was disturbed by Beryl's passage, basically had no cold water and almost regenerated instantly to bring that hotter water out there, getting it ready for the next storms that'll be coming on through. Debbie, fortunately, has not been a problem at this point. It has not been anything else other than a Category 1 storm, and that just off the coast of the Big Bend area. Excuse me. It may be, again, potential for another storm coming our direction. That is something, again, to watch out for there. So Debbie, at this point in time, winds regenerated very quickly. We were at 40 miles per hour. We are now at 60 miles per hour, and the center of circulation is sitting just offshore. So it managed to wander out farther into this area, less friction from the land surface, so it got a little stronger. The pressure dropped a little bit. It's still moving incredibly slowly. There's no winds in this area that are helping to drive this system away. So it's going to just meander its way up the coast over the course of the next couple of days. The conventional weather wisdom from the spaghetti models is showing the storm moving back onshore, but again, areas around low pressure areas rotates counterclockwise. So this is going to be in a perfect location to bring in more moisture, and that means a possibility of flash flooding. Now, as we go toward the weekend, it should begin to catch a little bit more of the jet stream and move away a little bit more quickly, heading up over the St. Lawrence Seaway, the Canadian Maritimes, and then after that, we should be looking at this system, if it holds together enough for the models to follow it, out into the colder waters of the Atlantic. We are still looking at the potential of a lot of rainfall around the Carolina coastline. This is something that could be a very big problem for anybody traveling between Savannah and the Chesapeake Bay area. This is not beach weather, not even close. Windy, a lot of beach sand being kicked up, a lot of erosion, a lot of riptides as that water has to make its way out back into the Atlantic once again. And notice that all that heavy rainfall goes all the way up into central New York, portions of Pennsylvania, New England, into southeastern Canada. Lots of rainfall coming on through. So I would say anything between Savannah and west of New York over toward Buffalo, east of Pittsburgh, west of Philadelphia, that's where we're picking up the worst of the worst in the chances of rainfall. So if you are traveling this particular direction from Chattanooga over toward the coast, you may want to think about finding another way to go just to be on the safe side, because this is not going to be pleasant. All right, is there anything else out there? There was, but as of right now, our latest Caribbean disturbance has now basically given up the ghost. It was a 0% chance earlier today. The National Hurricane Center yesterday gave this a 30% chance of development. Scraping close to South America, probably took the wind out of its sails. Maybe some dust got in the circulation, and heading towards Central America. The National Hurricane Center has issued its final advisory on this. Now, if enough of this energy makes its way into the Bay of Campeche, we may see some development. But for right now, I really don't see this actually becoming a new storm. We still have a long way to go. In the next 2 weeks, the Atlantic Basin seeing the best possibility of development, East Coast, Bahamas, northern portions of the Caribbean. Again, that's the highest threat right there. That's week 2 of August. Watch what happens as we go into week 3. That resets itself. So you may be saying, okay, well, that is a lot further out in the Atlantic than what we're seeing for week 2. So week 2 here, week 3, it goes back toward the east into the central Atlantic. That's not good news. If we don't get enough dust from the Sahara to block out the sunshine, this is where we may be seeing the storms develop, and again, heading into this portion of the ocean. So anything in the next few weeks, we are on the up ramp to the center point of the season. It's again, September the 10th is the midpoint, and we are just about a month away from that. So we have a long way to go, and this could be a very big, ugly finish to hurricane season coming up. So if you're heading anywhere to a beach, anywhere involving the ocean in this area of the world, I would watch the weather very carefully. Now is the time to be weather aware and follow what's going on. You do not want to be heading into an area that you're going to have to just head back out of once again, just to be on the safe side there. All right, that's it pretty much for weather tonight. Let's go ahead and do a little bit more in the way of extracurricular activities. If my mouse would function, that'd be wonderful. There we go. Thank you very much. News 12 viewer Gary Matheny from Cleveland, Tennessee. Don't know if this is sunrise or sunset, but a beautiful pastel-colored view from Cleveland. If you've got pictures like Mr. Gary does, please go ahead and send them in to us. We'd love to see what you're seeing out there. If you would please be so kind, if you drop these off to social media, please make certain that you give us a description and a location so we can tell people about where you were and what you were looking at. If you want to be anonymous, that's fine. Just give us a fake name, or we can use your handle on whatever service you use, or just say it's anonymous, they didn't want to be identified, great, no problem. But if you just give us an idea as to where you were and what you were looking at, that would really help folks like me. So again, please leave us some information on that. That would come in very handy for anybody planning things out. All right, astronomical information, taking a look again at a star party coming up this weekend. We had one last weekend on the 3rd down in Georgia. The Barnard Astronomical Society will be holding another star party where you get to look through the binoculars and the telescopes, and that is coming up at Harrison Bay State Park, the Rec Hall parking area in Harrison, Tennessee, just north of Chattanooga. You don't need to bring anything. It's totally free. Show up, learn about astronomy, and find out more about how cool astronomy and science is. If there are too many clouds or any chance of rain whatsoever, this is a weather-dependent star party, and there's no point getting everybody out there if it's just going to be all sorts of clouds out there. So if you'd like to know more, the Barnard Astronomical Society will let people know what is going on their website and on their social media pages to let them know that it's been postponed or canceled. More info, again, at barnardastronomy.org. Thank you very much to the Barnard Astronomical Society for putting these displays on. That is very cool. It's a neat way for everyday folks to learn more. This is a great opportunity for kids to learn more about how cool astronomy is. Science involved in a lot of this, really neat to be able to see. So thanks a lot. So show up again and find out more details as to what is going on. Speaking of astronomy, coming up next week, one of the biggest meteor showers of the year is the Perseids, because it emanates the meteors seem to come out of the area of the sky around the constellation of Perseus the Hero. That'll be rising in the northeast next week, Sunday into Monday, the 11th through the 12th. This is can be one of the biggest ones of the year, where you can see upwards of 100 meteors per hour. That's about one meteor every couple of minutes, or maybe even more than that. You want to be away from city lights so you can catch the fainter meteors. If you have a lawn chair so you can just lean back and look upwards instead of sitting in a chair like I am now and craning your neck, you're going to catch a lot more meteors out there. So please, if you want to know more about astronomy, this is a great way to do it. More details on the Perseid meteor shower on our website and on our social media pages. So find out more about a really cool event coming up in the course of the next several days. Want to remind you as well, again, if you'd like to know more about what NOAA does, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, a lot of detractors out there saying, well, they talk about climate change too much. Well, that's part of their charter, is to learn and to use science to help with everyday weather phenomena, to talk about severe weather, to talk about what happens with shipping. The NOAA banner flies under the United States Department of Commerce. You also take a look at how fisheries operate, and about how satellites work, and about how this is all available to emergency partners, to the military, to anybody who wants to know it, because your tax dollars, my tax dollars, pay for this service. Well, according to some political aspirants out there, they want to do away with NOAA because it talks too much about climate change. Well, they do a whole bunch of all kinds of other stuff, including under the National Weather Service. And if you'd like to find out more about what they do and what NOAA does to keep you safe and to help me to keep everybody safe with the information they provide, open house coming up September 28th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in Morristown at the National Weather Service office that covers portions of the News 12 viewing area. That's at 5974 Commerce Boulevard, Morris, Tennessee 37814. If you'd like to know more, you don't have to reserve. You just show up. There are some rules. You can't bring in any alcohol. Only service pets are provided. And if you'd like to know more, weather.gov/MRX, or go to our weather page and scroll down beneath the weather forecast, and you can get the details and the links for this if you'd like to attend. This is a rare thing. These do not happen often. So if you'd like to find out more, this will be a great opportunity to do so. So please take advantage of this and learn more about what NOAA does, and that'll help you to find out more, just scientifically speaking. All right, from friendinroofing.com, we talk a lot about different things. Exometeorology, we talk about science, we talk about the health of the oceans, we talk about storm names, all that type of stuff. We try to keep this as scientifically knowledgeable as possible. Well, in 2023, the Pew Research Group interviewed over 10,000 Americans, and the percent of Americans that favor the United States participating in worldwide international climate change reduction efforts. How many interviewed are in favor of that? 24%, 54%, 74%, or 94%. Well, Kay Blevins and Andrew Harrison voted, as the majority did, for 38%, also for 54% for some of you. The actual answer is 74%, so nearly 3 out of 4 Americans are in favor, according to this research poll, of participating with the rest of the world on reducing the risk of climate change. That is a very heartening number. Now, of course, not everybody agrees with that, and some of that is split right along political party lines. Unfortunately, this is something that pays to know more about. If you'd like to know more about this and more about science in general, we try to keep this as interesting and scientific as possible. WDEF.com/vote now. Thank you, friendinroofing.com, for being our sponsor on that. And you can find out more, again, at our website at WDEF.com/weather. That one, of course, WDEF.com/vote now. I think that should do it for tonight. We've been on just shy of half an hour. No questions in the stream chat on Twitch, and thanks to everybody who showed up on YouTube to take a look around. We'll have more on the forecast tonight on News 12 at 11. Brian Armstrong has sports. Andrew Harrison has news. Yours truly with the weather forecast. Find a way to stay cool out there. It's still going to be hot over the next several days and weeks, even though we've got a break coming as we go into August. So please make certain you're staying hydrated like this smart pupper does. Again, we'll keep you up to date on all of our social media channels out there. I'm on various websites and social media channels. Again, I'm not on Facebook. They threw me off because somebody tried to hack me from New Orleans and they wouldn't let me back on again. So I wish I could do something about that, but apparently Mr. Zuckerberg is very adamant about keeping me off of Facebook these days. I'm very sorry to hear that. We'll have more on the forecast. Again, bottom of the screen, WDEF.com, where you can catch more about our social media web presence and our weather information. You can see again the 7-day forecast down in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. You can get more from our website on that. We'll have more with Chip Chapman coming up bright and early on Thursday morning, so stay tuned for more on that. And again, please be safe, please be cool as we see another steamy day coming up across much of the area. Live and direct from downtown Chattanooga on Wednesday night, the 7th of August. I'm Chief Meteorologist Austen Onek. Stay tuned for much more with News 12 coming up on air and online, and we'll see you again coming up on Thursday night. Thanks for joining us.